Yeah, we can see.
Great. Hey guys, my name is Kirill. I'm a technical artist at Notion Theory. And today I want to talk a little bit about control rig, what it is, how to use it, when to use it, and most importantly, why should you even care to begin with if you're not a rigger or an animator yourself? So let's dive just into it. Right. So what is control rig? On the left side, I have the most simplest rig you can create. This thing is called a skeleton. What it is pretty much is just a set of points that connect it with one
Hey, brother,
another.
sorry to interrupt. Could you speak closer to the mic?
Oh, sorry. Is that better?
Yeah, it's a lot better. Thanks.
Okay, cool.
All right, go.
So this thing is the skeleton. This is the most simplest rig you can create. What it is just a set of points that are connected with one another by a parent-child relationship. Once you attach a mesh to it, from a technical point of view, you can animate it. And this is actually how it was done before back in the days. But the problem with this, if you try to animate this, you will have to move each of those points, each of those bones at a time to actually get something. And that's very hard and takes a lot of time. And I doubt anyone wants to bother with that. So the next step is to have some kind of logic on top of it. And on the right side of the screen, you can see a character already rigged with a mesh assigned to the skeleton, and that skeleton has some logic. And what that logic allows you to do is to move the skeleton by a few controls. In this case, I believe it's like maybe 15, 16 controls here against 27 bones here that you have to move manually. So this thing on the right side of the screen, that's what we call control rig, simply because it has all these control systems that attach to it. A little bit why it's even a big thing right now. Unreal having all of that functionality inside the engine, because before a certain point, if you wanted to animate a character and rig the character, you need to go to third third-party programs like Maya. This is what I have on my screen right now. This is Maya interface, or Blender, or whatever have you, and set up all that functionality inside those programs. And then you inevitably run into a problem of importing, exporting all this stuff. And you cannot transfer all this logic that you've spent so much time creating into different software, and especially Unreal Engine. All of that is lost, and you basically locked into whatever animation you've created in this program. And in order to edit it later, you have to go back, re-import, re-export, and all this shenanigans. And you also have lots of problems with the orientations. And like sometimes when you import, say, a skeleton from a Blender into Unreal, you might see bones twisted or parts of the mesh inverted. And that is due to bones orientations. For example, in Maya, the grid has y-axis pointing at the top, whereas the Unreal Engine has z-axis pointing up. And that just creates lots and lots of smaller problems that you just have to tackle in order to get your job done. And that obviously it's a lot of time. And so what Epic did, they've introduced the entire rigging pipeline into Unreal. And what you can do right now is from left to right, you can basically create your own bones, your own skeleton. You can assign the mesh to the bones, and that process is called skin painting or skinning, basically. And what you do is basically you tell a specific joint what part of the mesh it needs to affect, what part of the mesh it can deform. And it's displayed as this white gradient. In this case, the spine joint is being skinned to the mesh. And on the right, you have, again, the character that is already rigged, skinned, and ready to go. Also, when you talk to riggers or animators, you will hear lots of IK and FK terms in their speech. And what that basically means, it's very, really simple. FK is the forward kinematics, and we've actually talked about it here. So if I just try to animate this skeleton here, bone by bone, that is forward kinematics. You just do it this way. Now, in IK is the inverse kinematics, and inverse kinematics is when you just have uh, the control, say at the tip of your bone chain, and you just move this control to whatever you need, and the entire chain readjusts automatically, and all the bones inside this chain automatically orient and move to the positions they're supposed to move. This is how it really works. So in this example here, this character is has IK in the legs, in the chest, spine, and also neck, and you can do lots of things with it. And you don't, most importantly, you don't have to move it bone by bone in order to achieve this motion or this animation if you create one. Right, moving on. Now, how can you use this in your game project? It's also kind of like goes to the procedural animation, because you can do lots of things right now with it, especially if you are an indie developer, because if you're indie, you don't have simple access to, say, an animation department, so they can like animate everything for you and just solve this problem. And usually you have to do it by yourself. And Unreal right now provides a great tool set for you to do just that. So for example, in this Matrix Awakens, all the destruction, deformation of the cars that you see there, that's actually a skeleton, a rig that they have. You will see it in a second. So it's just a rig with controls exposed, and those controls have a specific logic on them. And when those controls interact, say, with a collision, they deform the mesh. And this way you have very unique animations, deformations of the character you're animating. And you do it all procedurally. It's very easy this way. Same way with the character walking here a lot. You just set up all the logic first, and then it will automatically readjust itself for the ground, for different collisions, all of it. You can also do very interesting things right now in Unreal Engine. This is from the latest version of Unreal. What they've introduced, the dynamic hierarchy, where you can just have this Rubik's Cube working this way. And what it does, it automatically reassigns different parts of the mesh to different bones. And you can, I doubt that you can create something like this, for example, in Maya. It will be very, very hard. In Unreal Engine, you can just do it and have, say, a puzzle in your game where the player would be interacting with, say, this cubic, solving this puzzle. So yeah. All right, moving on. Second part of it is motion matching. Motion matching is again the new system that Epic introduced into the latest version of Unreal. The way how it looks is you have a set of different animations. In this case, this character running left, right, backwards, and what you just grab all those animations, select them, drag and drop them into this window, and it will automatically identify the directions those animations are playing at, and will set up the entire system for you. And later on in the game itself, you will see that depending on the direction of your character and the speed of your character, it just plays specific animations. And Epic Games wants to share a library of, I believe, 500 different animations that they've created. And you can just, again, drag and drop them the way they do here onto a character, and that character is going to play the animation based on the specific criteria you have for it. And just like that, you can create very complex systems that before would take you entire animation department to create. Right. Next one. Obviously, you can just use the control rig as a traditional means of animations of animation in a sequencer. What you do is basically select one of those controls, you move it, that creates a key in the sequencer, and through that you just create your typical animation the way how it's done, well, I dare to say traditionally nowadays. So again, this character is just animated manually through the sequencer. Now, the most important question is, why you even care about using all of that? Well, as I said before, apologies, how do I create the rig? I've already talked about why do you need to use it? How do you create the rig? Because the rig in itself is hard. It requires a lot of math. It requires a lot of knowledge on how you set it up. But in the latest version of Unreal, Epic, Epic introduced a new system to just do it basically by drag and drop. They have a set of precompiled modules here for different parts of your mesh. And the only thing you need to have is just the skeleton that is assigned, skinned to the mesh. And just like that, you can drag and drop whatever functionality you need, and you will have the rig, which you later can use for whatever other purpose you need. So it's very simple, it's very easy, and you don't really need to dive into all the technical things that related to rigs, creating rigs. And later on, once you have the rig, you can set it up in the animation blueprint. For example, the motion matching example is using animation blueprint in order to do some decision making. And you also have the control rig component exposed in the blueprints. So whatever logic you want to have, you can easily set it up, hook it up to the controls that you've exposed in the rig, and that will be working just like that. So that is pretty much the entire system. So if you have any questions, please.
Cool. Good. Thanks. Any questions? That was from everyone. Any questions on any of that? Okay. There you go.
Hello. Are you able to hear me?
Yes, hi.
Hi. In the case, well, in the part with the Rubik's Cube, I know you already mentioned that it could be used for puzzles within games, but how else would we use that dynamic thing?
You can there are like multiple ways you can use it. It really depends on what type of thing you're trying to create, because it's just at the core of it, it's just a set of bones, the skeleton, and you have different parts of the mesh that you can dynamically reassign to different bones. So uh, whatever type of puzzle you want to imagine, you can pretty much do it just with this thing. And
Thank you
again,
so
in
I'm so sorry.
blueprints, I'm sorry. Just to finish up, and in later in blueprints, you can have whatever logic, whatever idea basically you want to realize with this, set up hook to it, and it will just work.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Just to answer your question, what have you is thinking about like dynamic hierarchies. So in the case of the Rubik's Cube, that was a good sort of pure example of sort of, again, changing that relationship there. I think another thing might be like if you had a sword and then something happened, it broke off, and then you sort of flip the sword around, and then you're using, or you had a staff that had like something at the bottom and a spear tip at the top, but the spear tip broke off, and all of a sudden like the weapon changed now, and sort of the relationship of that hierarchy. That's sort of the neat thing there, where you can sort of dynamically reassign what the parent is and the children, and then sort of have everything cascade from there.
Assembling the shards of a broken sword, for example, that
Yeah.
is the thing.
Right, got another one coming.
Hey, thank you for your
Yeah.
presentation. I just wanted to ask, what about adding like additional things, like if they had a cape or some props or, I don't know, wings attached to it? How does the control rig work? Does it still function, or there's still things that need to be developed for that?
Yeah, thank you. This is a very interesting question. So there are in Unreal, there are two systems, two rigs kind of. It's the same rig, but it's like on interface level, it's called differently. You have the control rig where you actually go in and you create your own system in there with nodes, and like it's pretty much blueprints only for the rigging. And you have the modular system that I've showed, which is kind of like more surface level stuff. So if you have wings, or say you're trying to animate a character which is an animal, so it's quadrupedal character, or you have some kind of chicken leg type of setup where you have like maybe like two knees or stuff like that. So that is like a more specific custom thing for which you need to go and create your own setup in the actual rigging blueprint. But for whatever mostly commonly used, let's say, legs, arms, tails, you can pretty much just use the modular rig system and it will work out of the box. So this is for regarding the complex setups, like again, like wings, for example, because with wings, you have, if you call them fingers, right, multiple kind of like joints there, and that will differ from project to project. Regarding the cloth and cloth simulations, Unreal already has some of the some of this some of those things introduced for the simulations. But what you can do as one of the ways how you can work, kind of like if you cannot get the result that you want from Unreal Engine when it comes to close simulation, you can export some of the animations and import them, say in Houdini, simulate close in there, and then re-import all of it into Unreal. So there are two ways how you can tackle it. One way you can simulate it in Unreal, and it has certain things, certain plugins for it, although I believe some of them experimental or in better versions still. Or you just can do simulation in Houdini or in Maya or in Blender for that. So yeah.
All right, cool, brother. Thank you. I
Thank you
appreciate
guys.
it. Okay, Sia, can you give Tim the share now?
Um,